here that anyone who appreciates or anyone who is committed to the fight against corruption, that person will know that the ingredients needed in fighting corruption, you need what we call anti-corruption institutions that are independent. So independent anti-corruption institutions that are functioning as expected of them. So the institutions we need. The second one is the anti-corruption laws. Effective anti-corruption laws. These are also what we need to fight corruption. So the laws are also there. And the third one that we need is what we call the will. The leadership or the one leading. And in this case, the kind of governance we are practicing, it will always end with the president or the executive, the head of the executive. Because the head of the executive, if you look at our constitution, wields almost all power in this country. And so it is how committed that person is to the fight against corruption. Putting all these three into a basket is what will give us an effective fight against corruption in this country. And so anyone who makes any policy or proposal should be doing that in line with these three broad areas that I have mentioned. Anti-corruption institutions, anti-corruption laws, and then leadership, will. If you have anti-corruption institutions that are working, or if you have them, even on paper, not working, but just established, you have anti-corruption laws on paper, in the books, just, enacted, and you do not have a leader who has got the will, trust me, you will mess up and you will not be able to fight corruption. And that's exactly what, since 2016 to now, that is one of the key things that as a country, it has affected us so much that we've not been able to fight corruption. That's why I gave you the statistics that the past 3 years, we've been very stagnant at the same place, 43, 43, 43. You see, it is just because the leader we have has failed the third yardstick, which is the will. And the very moment you have a leader who does not have a will, the commitment to fight corruption, what it means is that it will automatically affect the other two components, being the institutions, the anti-corruption institutions, and the anti-corruption laws. You can have the institutions, you can have the laws, but if you don't have someone who is committed, who has shown or is showing example, it becomes very, very, very difficult. And that is why in the fight against corruption, one of the things that we need to do is to make sure that not only are we looking at what is on paper, but we're also looking at the credibility of the person, whether or not the person is committed or has shown some level of commitment as far as the fight against corruption is concerned. Now, one of the things that quickly came into mind after going through this manifesto policies or promises, and for me it was sad because nothing was said about accountability. Nothing was said about accountability. You may not appreciate what I'm trying to say. You fight corruption, one way by which you fight corruption as a leader is by letting people know that you do not tolerate or you do not encourage. In the Akan language, we will say, oye penya onso so. Unfortunately, there was nothing that suggested clearly that the NPP manifesto is committed to accountability. There was nothing like that. And you see, whether we like it or not, there has been so many scandals over the past period, especially in this regime, from 2016 to now. If you are fighting corruption, you also set examples and let people know that the laws are biting. Let people know that the institutions are working. Let people know that when it comes to corruption, you as the leader, you will not encourage it. You will not tolerate it. The manifesto failed to tell me, as an anti-corruption fighter or campaigner, that there is a provision for individuals to account. And accountability here, I'm making reference to some of the major scandals that we have recorded. You remember the issue of the PDS, the scandal. You remember what is currently going on with the National Cathedral, the amount of money that has gone into it, waste. And we cannot even account for it, to the extent that eminent men and women of God, at a point realizing that the whole process is becoming so shameful, decided to resign from the board of the National Cathedral, left with only those who still believe that, as far as they are concerned, whether it is shameful or not, they are confident and comfortable in engaging in corruption and corrupt practices. The manifesto never talked about accountability. Did not assure me that individuals who have taken our money, individuals who have wasted our future, these individuals are going to account for it. If we cannot account, we cannot, and it becomes very difficult to entrust into your hands more responsibilities. We have the Ejapa gold royalties. We have the bust scandal. We have the missing excavators, in case people have forgotten. We have the BOG, Bank of Ghana, going on or going ahead to print money without authorization. In the history of Ghana's existence, Bank of Ghana could record losses. And so, and these are just few, if at the end of the day, a manifesto is brought out, and the manifesto does not convince me of accountability, it becomes extremely difficult. Very, 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 very difficult to convince me that indeed the manifesto and the people behind it, not only whether or not they appreciate what we are talking about is a different thing, but they communicate clearly that they are not really committed, because they don't even appreciate the whole issues and the foundations of it. That is the first thing, and the first impression that I got from reading the manifesto and studying the promises, the promises or the policies when it comes to the fight against corruption. We talk about improved transparency, focus on procurement. And you see, it saddened me when I went through how it was going to be done. It's really, really, really saddened me. But you see, one major thing affecting us as a country has to do with procurement. Indeed, about 90% or so of our corruption, issues borders on procurement. Whether sole sourcing, if it is not sole sourcing, then it is probably, it may be competitive but bidding, but the process was skewed to favor one person or the other. The processes involved. And so anyone who wants to talk about using procurement to fight corruption without first letting us know that he or she appreciates even how procurement process, the loopholes, how it is done, then the person again does not even appreciate what the procurement process is all about and how procurement can be restructured to fight corruption. First off, anyone who wants to fight corruption in this country, focusing on procurement, should be able to convince us about the appointments process. If you have a board, if you have a head in charge of such an important structure known as, or entity known as procurement, and the board and the head, they are all politically appointees, it automatically defeats whatever work they will do. And that is why over the past years, we've never been able to streamline anything. Never. So if you come and then you say that, okay, we are going to strengthen or we are going to use digitalization to make sure that procurement is done in a very transparent manner. It is just a minute part of it. You don't really appreciate the whole thing. In any case, as we speak now, to a very large extent, though not very perfect, but to a very large extent, the procurement process relies on digitalization. It does. And yet we are recording this quantum of corruption. It means that is really not the entire thing. The major problem facing procurement has to do with the structure, how appointment is done. And so if you end up making appointment which is still political appointment, it's either you don't even understand the problems facing procurement, or you are just not committed. You know it, but you are just not committed to it. Because that is the key thing that is needed. There's one aspect of it where it talks about, let me look for it so I can read that portion. And then we can again look at, okay, so we've talked about procurement here. There's one interesting one I'll get to very soon, and that has to do with establish an e-marketplace for public procurement, similar to Korea's online e-procurement system. I'll go into that very soon because it's really an interesting one, and I'll go into that. But there's one that talks about asset declaration regime, going to make sure that individuals who are supposed to declare their assets, the bracket, it is expanded to include heads of civil service and some few others, which we do not have now. That is really not what we need again. That is really not what we need. You see, it is just like what my senior brother will always say, and I'm talking about Mr. Daniel Domlevo, who will always say that our asset declaration regime is a joke. And that is true. Let me tell you one thing about it. You see, if you want to go and declare your assets, or you fall into the bracket of those who are supposed to declare their assets, you are given a form, you fill the form is put in an envelope, it is deposited. Even the custodian, the auditor general who holds it, does not have the mandate to open up and to go through and verify unless there is a legal issue. And so I declare my assets, I put it down, and that ends it. I mean, what is the rationale? What is the essence? If we are not able to make it public, so for instance, if I'm the president of the day today, and I have declared my assets, if we are not able to change the laws for this to be made publicized, so that individuals who know me in my jurisdiction or my locality will have access to it and say that, no, Emmanuel Wilson has indicated that he has 2 houses. But we live closer and we live with him. And we know that it is more than 2, it is 3, or it is 4, or it is 5. Then we'll be able to verify. And in verification, we'll then be able to fight corruption. And so if you tell me that you are going to expand the scope to include others, for them to also declare their assets, it is not just the process of writing and filling a form that the declaration of assets regime seeks to achieve. No. It is supposed to help fight corruption. The question is, over the past period, how impactful has the declaration of assets regime been in the fight against corruption? Sad to say, and this I speak on authority, in the year 2016 to 16, 17, 18 to 2019, the current vice president, who was then the vice president, had not declared his assets. The point I'm making is very simple. You can have everyone in this country being told to declare his or her assets. even though the one who owns this manifesto as it stands now failed to do so, even right from 2016 when he became vice president to 2019. He failed to do so. So how then do you tell me that you are going to expand? That is not what we need. We don't need an expansion. We don't need, it's not the number of people that will make or change anything. That is not what we need. What we need is ensuring that we review or reform the laws governing our asset declaration regime to make sure that there is a strong transparency. The process involved is what we need. It is not the number of people involved. It is the process. It can even be the current number that we have, parliamentarians, ministers, or the executive, legislature. It can just be this. And if they are able to go through the regime very well for transparency to take place, we will still be able to fight corruption and fight it very, very, very effectively. And that is the reason why I am surprised. I am surprised that we don't have, any of this even in the manifesto. It tells me again clearly that the procurement side that we want to use to fight corruption itself, it looks like we do not even appreciate it the way we ought to. And so it becomes very difficult to say that the manifesto has, commitment when it comes to the fight against corruption. Now I come to the other one, and I'll be reading. This one talks about, and when I'm done with this, I'll activate the phone lines, then you can all get into it. I'm sure some of you have also gone through the manifesto, and you can share with us what you see about the manifesto, Section 8, good governance, what you see about that. So this one says, establish an e-marketplace for public procurement, similar to Korea's online e-procurement system. Now, what it failed to do is that it did not make any provision for an independent agency to check and prosecute procurement irregularities. That's why I keep saying that it failed to talk about accountability. It didn't. Because you see, if you want to talk about the Korean system, the structure they have over there that has made it very effective. It is not just about introduction of online or using the exact words here, e-procurement system. That's not all. That's not just it. Digitalization itself is just a tool, a mechanism used. That's not the end. So digitalization works effectively when other structures are there. I was expecting to see in this that if we are going to use the Korean system, then we are going to have an independent agency to check and prosecute procurement irregularities. There was nothing of that sort. And so it's the framers of this policy looks like they actually did not understand or they do not appreciate what the electronic procurement system is all about. The other one is that they are going to expand the list of public office holders required to declare assets, which I have said earlier on. But what it failed to do is that it did not mention anything as far as transparency is concerned. There's one interesting one here. And I'm still making reference to the Section 8 of the manifesto of the NPP. Now, still talks about, there's one here. Let me just look for it. And then, okay, so we've talked about the public procurement. We've talked about the irregularities in this one. There's one that talks about, we are going to continue the restructuring of the public sector internal audit function. That's interesting. Listen. Continue restructuring the public sector internal audit function. And those who are in the good governance space, they appreciate what we're talking about. But I see the interesting thing. We have what we call the Internal Audit Reform Bill. And it is the reform bill that is going to help us to restructure the audit service. This reform bill has been on the table, has been to cabinets, the current cabinet I'm talking about. Cabinets that is made up of the vice president, the president, and all others. They've been there. A bill, an audit reform bill, internal audit reform bill has been on the table of this current government for the past 4 years. For the past 4 years, and nothing has been done to it. There's no mention of it. And people do not see, I mean, they not even appreciate it. Listen, just look at how quick the current government were able to pass the e-levy. Went through parliament, it gets to the presidency, and when it got there, within the shortest possible time, it has become a law and it's being implemented. Today, as we speak, for the past 4 years, there is a bill on internal audits reform, reforming the internal audits. There's a bill that has been to the presidency for the past 4 years. 4 years. Nothing has been done to it. And today, we are being told that there's going to be a continuous reform of Ghana's internal audit service. And I ask myself, how do you reform an office? That is, how committed are you? How do you want me to believe that you are committed to this? That you have in your manifesto section 8, good governance and combating corruption. And yet, something as basic as a bill to reform the sector that you have expressed, that you, when you come, you want to reform, for the past 4 years, it is still there and nothing has been done to it. I really do not think that is what we need. I mean, like, as I keep saying, it baffles my mind. It looks clearly that the framers or the writers or the authors of this manifesto did not really appreciate, or if they did, they thought that, you know, we can be taken for granted, and so they can scribe anything, and then, you know, that is it. But no, viewers of politics and beyond are discerning viewers, and we want to scrutinize so that we will equip ourselves in making the right decision. We want to fight corruption. It is one of the key issues to determine the outcome of the 2024 election, and this is all we get. There's one which I was expecting also, if we understand how to fight corruption, and that has to do with decoupling the Attorney General's Department from the Ministry of Justice. Anyone who is serious about fighting corruption should be telling us and convincing us that he or she is committed to this, and when he or she is given the opportunity in the fight, in the light of fighting corruption in this country, they are going to decouple it. Nothing was mentioned. If you go to Korea, the Korea strategy, or the Korea that we want to talk about, the Singapore that we want to talk about, you cannot have the Attorney General's Department and the Ministry or the Minister of Justice being the same body. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way. And so, honestly speaking, going through the highlights of this manifesto, as I indicated, the first one is leveraging digitalization. The second one is procurement. The third one is, you know, deal with abuse of political office and power. And I'm like, look, there's so many instances to show that currently, as we speak, there are people who are abusing their office, either giving contracts to their brothers or using their office to you know, confiscate items coming from outside the country in the name of breaching port taxes and regulations, only to take those food items and keep them in your office and then end up giving it out on salad days. You know, I mean, there are so many instances to show that there has been abuse of office. But that is not even my interest now. My interest is we combating corruption. And the manifesto failed to talk about accountability. Even the procurement, it failed to convince that they really appreciate what it is all about. Talking about the e-procurement, talking about the constitution of it, talking about how we can, reform the internal audit. I mean, everything did not go as expected. And it is clear that this manifesto, as far as the fight against corruption is concerned, it is difficult to convince that this manifesto is bringing out anything that will help us fight corruption. Let me activate the phone lines, and I'll go back to what I was talking about earlier. But let me activate the phone lines. You're at liberty to call. And when you call, be as brief as possible. The lines numbers are 0204155944 or 0204155888. It is activated. You can call in. You can also continue sending in your messages. All the messages that have come so far, acknowledge. We are going to read them and we'll take you through it. But as I indicated, it is very, very important for us to appreciate that in fighting corruption, you need to make sure that you put in the right structures. And governance, as I said, is a serious business. Governance is not a joke. You cannot play with it because, you see, it affects your life, it affects my life. Now we still continue on with the manifesto, the comments in the manifesto. Fully implementing and deploying a digital platform to transform the way civil servants work. Welcome to Politics and Beyond. My first caller.
I am Joshua.
Joshua, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Israel.
Israel. Okay. Welcome. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Please, what I want to contribute is NDC should be vigilant with this election. Because what I'm saying, I know what I'm saying. They should behave like
Joshua, can we discuss what we are discussing now? I mean, can our conversation be tailored on this? Please.
Okay, let me talk about corruption. What I will say about corruption is the current government is full of corruption. So NDC, when NDC comes and they fail to prosecute these people, their own will be better than theirs. Because Ghanaians' hope is on NDC. If they come and they are not able to prosecute, the way Ghanaians will descend on NDC, it will not be easy. And if they do that, it will show caution to the incoming, incoming politicians who will be coming in future. They should do well to prosecute them. Even the president himself should be prosecuted. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you so much. I think that is very key. And just like I indicated earlier, in fighting corruption, you need accountability. So it's also very, very important to show me that when you are voted into office, you are not only looking at the future, but you're also going to set examples by making sure that you have what it takes to prosecute your, to prosecute individuals, whether they are in your government or outside your government, who have engaged in corruption and corrupt practices. So he says, adopting a whole of government approach to deploying government digital service to save costs. Nothing specific. Implementing a whole of government data classification system based on the National Data Governance Framework and in alignment with the e-government interoperability, right? I hope I got it well. Framework is okay, I'll repeat it. And it goes on, adopting the once only principle where citizens and businesses provide information only once. And that information is reused across various government services. So as I said, futuristic things. That's how it's going to work. Then we come to procurement again. Under procurement, it says that, do I have a caller on the line?
Audu Faila.
Audu, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you.
And where are you calling from, Audu?
Wanchi Buja hometown. Honorable Alhaji Sedu Haruna hometown.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you for Wanchi. So, open Cassia, come Cassia, topic now, the other come a minute and then papa, Mutifi at Yebi. The occupant show no Cassia. Me, manifesto Nira MPP, as I can come out in Kanka and come for so. I am MP. The corruption equals to Ghana. MP to what you say or moving can make a corruption yourself. The issue about the PDA, the issue about the PPA youth authority, the issue about that issue, can I say that right? The issue about Professor Frimpong Boateng, can I say that? The issue about Alfred Obi, both part 1 and 2. The issue about Adam Ajide and Kasi Media, nothing. The issue about Apana, Laba Idea, Namaba, nothing. The issue about Kimbon, part 1 and 2, nothing. The issue about Aboboya, Laruba, Aboboya 400. After you talk about how to know. You two have some motorbikes, 350 a year. You two have some Catapia, edited small man as Bakuba, 400 a year. You two have some fertilizer, Yami, Edwaka from Amaya, Dubai, Tilela Baku, a year. Talk to now. You two have some no can come and better over the big kind of fire. They are like the park, billions of dollars. All that in passing. How to now you are done to pay nowhere because Ghana means they open nowhere. In there, both side way, there, Esna way, the Damo way, in there, the Pagan, that open on way, just change you not
thank you. How do Midasepa? I agree. The passion with which you are talking, because you see, as I keep saying, and I'm happy you appreciate that. Asama Udu Kenyinano, it's not for fun. And he's not just saying it for saying sake. He realizes how corruption is affecting his life. And you know, when you get opportunity to talk about it, you don't talk about it as though you are just, playing with some toddlers. No, you don't do that. So that is what it is. Audu, thank you so much. I move on to the next one. Do I have another caller? Yes, caller, you are welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you so much.
Your name?
Yeah, this is Benjamin calling from Apam.
Okay, Ben, please go ahead.
Please, my observation is what we the youth should be speaking against. And they say, I say, yeah, so quiet. Individuals, they use your hard air money at the campaign. The people using the hard earned money at the campaign, so we know what we expect from that person. What we should expect in the or better and what's in where we know what in terms of developing the nation or developing the constituency. We should speak against the Nippon hard earned money at the campaign, and I say, well, we say needs to be why you bet me. Yen found mine and Cassandra, yen Shahawa, but me I campaigning in a different way. Because the Nippon use one resources, personal resources, and go to the business and I dare be before. No, the year campaign. Not only we are just say, Task cannot forget it. No, my dinner might be one, I will be developing my eye. We are not being fair to that person.
Ben,
we are also making and Sana while developing the nation. And also, I yet to so Sani Pani in a one, and then I yet to so corruption or corruption. What saying is he can also what's in the Sika. What saying is he can order a campaign, those what's in the Sika.
Ben, Metwasepa, thank you so much for calling. But you see, the other kind of it borders on campaign funding. And that is very, very true. Most of the corruption that we have recorded, it comes from the fact that we don't have a structured mechanism to check how funds, so campaign funding, we want to know where you are getting even your money from, how much you have spent, and all that. And it comes down to something that is very, very, very important. And I have said this so many times. And as I said, I have other brothers and other colleagues in the fight against corruption who have also said it. I have said in recent time, I know consistently, Daniel Domlevu has also said the same thing. Ghana, what we need, a lifestyle audit. lifestyle audit no nti enne se me pese me contest an election na at the end of the day no election na me pese me contest no nobody checks baby aminya sika ni fi obi anso en check anything minya sika na whatever money I spend no the opportunity comes I'll end up recouping. But that is not an excuse to get into corruption. Anyway, so next caller, you are welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Yes, sir. So, make up a script will come around for Payamani. Nana, the one said to my palm oil. As I said there, Ghana, in fact, almost DMPP in because 2016, whatever say be a muscle. Internet, but we all say, boy, on time. But we all saw it. That was the Chia baby, and Yanokra. They say, Ghana, no, but the Abani will be a DNDC. Even the administrator Ghana mine. We ain't changing. Now, young say, they're changing. I say, collection, no doors on the share Amanda. Oh, say, stop it, we don't fail in our base in that. Then, can't my penny crank and say, obey any tear did. I'm partial, any tear did. Then all supposed to be a maker. I said, John Mahama, many young people need power, and I may have be a corner. And we're generally guy. John Mahama make us all walk. He needs to be of cancer, so now. Just $1,000, obey the Esma, or you know, the second day, Nipa, or 10 a tomb. Tiny penny of making money 4 years, Shadma, Papa, without finish my power, Yamin Chira.
Medasepa Nyamisha Micha Brekum Funyinanso. So I mean that's it. We keep talking about that. And then I'll get to the text messages very soon. A number of them have come in here. But I want to still take you through some of the promises that comes in here. We are going to ensure collaboration between the authority and relevant regulatory bodies to standardize the specifications of selected items procured for official use. Example being development of websites. Remember, was it in the year 2019 or 18 or so, where we had what we call the Ministry of Special Initiative? An amount of 800,000 Ghana cedis was used to develop a website. 800,000 Ghana cedis was used to develop a website. And so anytime I hear a website, I get scared. Anyway, so example being development of website. Do I have a caller on the line? Welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you.
May I know your name and where you're calling from, and then your contribution?
It's original Suleiman, my sense.
Okay.
I'm here what here for you now. But say, you can't edify corruption, edify abide with dear. Not a dog for pa. Mammy, share a year Baumia. On one casano crum, quite dam. What can I say? One start, I will see who, why, you are why you see canning united, one to my yes, she. Chef, and now Kufa, the Baba, yes, my previous ambulance to cut the brigade, the amount of say, when I get the can who ye mere task, the can crowd, you quiet can crank it, me talk, cat baby in crowd, by woman, not a power to, is I said, the Amelia out the fella kind. She said, Papa, my about what must catch the first to cut the brigade, you know, the Cobulim passes. Now, when I'm IMS, say, open the cap about. Abaye mali na we man papa no yes la mo man bua na ntu aban papa we ntu no mo mboa no nyame ya gbo
Mate me da se pa nyame shra. So yes, so that is it. Then we go to maybe the last part of it. Let me rather, because my time is up. In view of this, we are going to, and this one has to do with abuse of political office. We are going to enact a Corrupt Practices Act to consolidate all anti-corruption and corruption-related legislation and offenses that are currently scattered across several pieces of legislation into an omnibus body of provisions. I really doubt if, as I said, the writers and the authors really appreciate what exactly is confronting us when it comes to fighting corruption. Because clearly, the solutions given out here, require asset declarations to be made or updated every 2 years instead of every 4 years. To what end? So I fill a form to declare my assets today. The next 2 years, I will update it, still put it in an envelope, go and seal it, give it to the Auditor General, who doesn't even have the right to open and assess whether or not what I've written is true. Whether what I've written makes sense or it doesn't make sense, whether I'm lying or I'm not lying, he doesn't even have authority to do that. And so whether it is reviewed every year, as in updated every year, or every 2 years, or every 3 years, or even every day or every month, what will be the benefit of that? How does that help us fight corruption in this country? So place limits on foreign official travels by ministers, CEOs, and senior civil servants, as well as annually published official travels undertaken. It is just like, and this one, it is just like, I've forgotten which president it was. I'm not sure whether it was Atta Mills or it was Johnny Jekum Kufuor, one of them, who came up and said that because of the hardship in the country, his government, everyone is going to reduce or cut down its salaries. That's exactly what this proposal is about. How does that fight corruption? And what impact did that make? Clearly speaking, it looks like, it really looks like we are not, we didn't really appreciate it before doing this. Then so the other one, like, annually publish the list of all beneficiaries of public scholarships. How? I don't get it. Public scholarships. You are going to publish the names, beneficiaries. I mean, it's just like saying that we are publishing names of those on the payroll to take care of ghost names. How has that been? How effective has that been? Anyway, let's go to the messages. So some of the messages that I have here, a number of them. This one is from Ablade, Efia Kuma Zongo, Takrade. Exhibition, if there are some corrections to be made on it, then EC shouldn't be in a hurry to conduct the exhibition. My greetings to, okay, so you are more of greeting. Okay, this one is Nasri Dean. Thanks, Mr. Emmanuel, for your good work. Okay, he's from Amagadon, Power 4. The level of corruption in Ghana under the MPP government has reached alarming heights, reflecting a troubling trend that cannot be ignored. It is becoming increasingly clear that many within the MPP party engaging in practices that resemble modern-day scamming, prioritizing personal gain over the welfare of the nation. This ongoing corruption is not just a blemish on our governance. It is a serious threat to our democracy and development. As we approach the 7th December election, it is crucial for citizens to recognize the implications of continuous support. Okay, that is very lengthy. Thank you. Thank you, Nasruddin. Good evening, TV XYZ. MPP governments have nothing to offer we Ghanaian, apart from corruption, arrogance, friends and family, etc. No jobs, hardship, most expensive pits in the world, excavators flying around, mother serpent bathing in the air, liar, comedian, and the rest. You didn't add your name. This one says, this is also again from Ablade. MPP's manifesto is just a copy-paste of 2020 with some small lies added. So let's reject Baumia and his MPP government. My greetings to NDC PC elect Abdul. Okay. This one says, I can't wait for December 7th to vote this MPP government out of power. I swear. My greetings to, okay, again, greetings. Please, sir, MPP administration has totally failed in terms of corruption. Started from PDS, contaminated bulk oil, BOG, and more. You didn't add your name. Hello, my name is Daniel from Tadi. In fact, you said it all. Our country is not having a future unless we get leaders who think about Ghana first. Ghana has no mineral resources, yet we are suffering. We need to change. This one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please, this NPP government knows only corruption, propaganda, and lies. But now we are wise. We will vote massively for JDM to rescue Ghana. NPP never again. You didn't add your name. This one says, sir, good evening. In fact, Dr. Baumia is speaking all the good policies and strategies of JDM. I don't know about that. Let them know that there's amount of spending and crocodile tears can keep. Let them know that maybe you wanted to say no amounts of spending and crocodile tears can keep them in power. And it is also fiasco. This is from Nana in Kwantabisa from Kumasi. There's one interesting thing, and maybe that would be the wrapping up. And so let me retrieve that, and then because that is also in the manifesto. Do I have a caller? All right. So the caller we are not able to pick anymore. It says that it's going to establish a fiscal responsibility act. I mean, we have it, but it says that it's going to, it's going to have a council. Fiscal responsibility council. You know the interesting thing? This Fiscal Responsibility Act, or the council that is going to be established, in the 2016 manifesto of the NPP, they made mention of 14 policies to fight corruption. This time it is only 3. They made mention of 14 policies to fight corruption, which included the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which has been done, and others, making up 14. Now, out of the 14, they've just been able to do about 5. From 2016 to 2024, they've done about 5 out of the 14. The 14, one of it had to do with the establishment of a council to take care of the fiscal responsibility of this country. And as I keep saying, what we need is fiscal discipline, fiscal discipline, fiscal discipline. We don't need to introduce more taxes. We don't need to do anything. Let's seal the loopholes. And so if from 2016 to 2024, something that has been in your manifesto from 2016, you've not been able to do it, or you failed to do it, you decided not to do it, and you come and put it in your 2024 manifesto. 2016 it was there, 2020 was there, you can check it. And it has found space again in 2024. What makes you think that we can be taken for granted? All too soon, this is where time will allow us. I want you to know that in the coming weeks, in the first week of September, Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana is going to have a very major activity taking place in this country, in Greater Accra. Subsequent episodes before the D-Day, we are going to give you details of it. And the target will be you, the general public. We'll give you details for you to see how you can partake in it, as again we prepare ourselves towards the 7th December 2024 general elections. I want to thank you so much for being a wonderful guest and a wonderful host, viewer. And I'm talking to you specifically. I want to say thank you to all those that are watching, those that are listening, individuals who have sent in messages that I could not read. I want to thank you all. I want to thank Princess Kukwa. I want to thank Rebecca Abafun. I want to thank Anita Opon, Dr. Anita Opon, and you know, the list goes on. Jacob and all of you, thank you so much for doing the watching and consistently sending in messages. This coming Wednesday, this episode is going to be repeated on this platform, TV XYZ, at exactly 11 a.m. So make time and watch again. And tell your friends and colleagues who could not make time to watch and let them know that it is about 7th December. It is about their future. It's about their life. Hoping that next week episode will take another time, knowing very well that the NDC will also be launching their manifesto. So we are very sure of doing the same thing, scrutinizing and analyzing, so that at the end of the day, you will make the decision for yourself. But trust you me, 7th December shouldn't be a joke. It shouldn't be a business as usual. It's about your life. Next week, God willing, we shall meet again. And I am still your host. I'm still your moderator, Emmanuel Wilson Jr., the Chief Crusader.